I was falsely accused of SA by my sister-in-law. She destroyed my marriage, career, and reputation. 2 years later, I get justice. Hey Reddit, so I've been hesitating for a while, but now I'm finally ready to share my story. It's a long one, so buckle up. I, 36 male, met my wife Erin, 34 female, at this tech conference in Chicago about 5 years ago. I was representing my finance firm. She was there for her marketing agency. Classic meet cute where I spilled coffee all over her white blouse. Offered to pay for dry cleaning. She countered with dinner instead. And boom, that's how it all started. Erin was the total package. Smart, ambitious, funny, and we just clicked. After dating for 2 years, I proposed at the same conference where we met. Yeah, corny I know. And we got married 6 months later. Our wedding was insane. Her parents went all out since she was their baby girl. Despite having an older sister Molly, 32 female. Beautiful ceremony at this vineyard. Perfect weather. Amazing food. Erin's dad even joked during his speech that the bar has been set impossibly high for Molly now. I caught Molly's face when he said that. She looked straight up pissed. After the wedding, life was pretty sweet. Landed a huge promotion managing a team of 15 people and nearly doubling my salary. Erin was killing it at her agency too. We bought a 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood and took some awesome vacations we probably posted about too much on Instagram. Erin's family was super important to her, so we'd have Sunday dinners at her parents' place every other weekend. Her mom Martha treated me like her own son. Her dad Robert and I bonded over fishing. The only weird vibe came from Molly. Even though Molly was the older sister, but she was still single at 32. She'd been engaged twice, but both relationships crashed and burned before making it to the altar. Every family gathering, Molly would make these little digs about our house, my job, or our relationship. Must be nice to have such a big house to clean. Or I could never work in finance. Isn't it just gambling with other people's money? Stuff like that. Erin always brushed it off as that's just how Molly is. But I could tell there was more to it. Molly would post these passive-aggressive quotes on social media right after we shared good news. When we announced buying our house, she posted about material possessions not bringing happiness. When I got my promotion, she shared some article about toxic masculinity in corporate culture. Just weird, petty stuff. I tried to ignore it cause she was Erin's sister, but it was getting harder and harder not to call her out. Thing is, Molly had always been the golden child growing up. She was the athletic one, the pretty one, the popular one in high school. She went to a better college than Erin, had more friends, the whole deal. But then adulthood hit, and Erin started succeeding while Molly kept failing. Her career stalled. Her relationships fell apart. And suddenly, little sis was the successful one with the perfect husband. I didn't need a psychology degree to see she was jealous as hell. I tried to be nice to her anyway. Helped her move apartments once. Gave her career advice when she asked for it. Even set her up with a friend from work. Disaster, by the way. I figured if I was going to be with Erin forever, might as well try to get along with her sister. Plus, I kind of felt bad for her. Must suck to watch your younger sister live your dream life. But overall, life was good. I had the career, the beautiful wife, the house, and the respect of everyone around me. Erin and I rarely fought. We had a great group of friends, went on couples trips, hosted dinner parties. Everything was perfect. But nothing stays perfect, right? It was about 2 years into our marriage when things started getting weird with Molly. We hosted a 4th of July barbecue at our place. Nothing fancy, just family and close friends. Molly showed up 3 hours late, already tipsy, with some random dude she'd met at a bar the night before. The guy looked uncomfortable as hell. Kept checking his phone like he was planning his escape. Erin was obviously annoyed, but tried to play it cool. Because that's the kind of person she is. Always keeping the peace. Always making excuses for her sister's BS. Later that night, I went inside to grab more ice for the cooler. And overheard Molly in our kitchen telling her date. Yeah, my sister likes to play perfect housewife in her perfect house with her perfect husband. It's all for show though. They fight all the time. I've heard her crying on the phone about how controlling he is. I just stood there with a WTF look on my face. Because it was total BS. YTF would she say such things? Also, Erin and I rarely fought. And I've literally never been controlling. We had a partnership, equal in every way. I wasn't about to let that slide, so I stepped into the kitchen and asked what the hell she was talking about. She got super defensive, said I was eavesdropping and controlling, proving her point to her date. The poor guy looked like he wanted to disappear. And within 20 minutes, he called an Uber and bailed. I didn't want to make a scene, so I kept quiet after that. Molly was too wasted to drive home, so she crashed in our guest room. The next morning, Erin left early for a work emergency. Some client having a meltdown over a campaign that wasn't performing, leaving me alone with hungover Molly. I made coffee and tried to have a calm conversation about what I'd heard. That's when she went off. You think you're so perfect, don't you? The golden boy who swept in and charmed everyone. My parents practically worship you. Erin thinks you can do no wrong. It's fucking exhausting watching everyone fawn all over your perfect little life when some of us are actually struggling. I kept my cool, which wasn't easy of course. I tried to be understanding because she just sounded bitter like always. Look, I get you're going through stuff. But making up lies about my marriage isn't okay. If you can't be respectful in our home, maybe you shouldn't come over anymore. She laughed in my face. You can't ban me from family gatherings. I'm actual blood. You're just the guy my sister's currently married to. That's when I lost it. Told her that this is my house that I pay for, not a family gathering spot. And she's here as a guest. And if she can't behave like one, she's not welcome. Blood or not. Then I told her to get her things and get the hell out. I said she wasn't welcome back until she could act like an adult and stop trying to sabotage her sister's happiness out of jealousy. She started crying. saying I was just like all the other men who'd mistreated her. Classic victim card. I called her an Uber and waited by the door until it arrived. As she was leaving, she turned and said, "You have no idea what I'm capable of when people cross me." The nerve she got. I told Erin about what happened when she got home. She was upset with both of us. Mad at Molly for her behavior, but also disappointed in me for kicking her sister out. I tried explaining that her sister was literally spreading lies about our marriage. But Erin kept saying, "That's just how she gets when she's stressed. And she doesn't mean it." We had our first real fight about it. I felt like Erin was choosing her toxic sister over me, and she felt like I was making her choose sides. Erin called Molly multiple times over the next couple days to smooth things over, but Molly wouldn't answer. I kind of hoped this meant she'd stay out of our lives for a while. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. 3 days later, Molly finally called Erin back. They talked for over an hour. And when Erin hung up, she seemed strange, distant, and confused. She said Molly apologized for her behavior at the barbecue, but had also shared some concerns about me that we'll talk about it later. That weekend, Erin went to her parents' place alone, saying she needed sister time with Molly. I didn't like it, but didn't want to cause more drama by objecting. She came home late, quiet, and barely speaking to me. When I asked how it went, she just said, "Fine," and went straight to bed. The next morning, she was still acting weird, sleeping in the guest room, leaving for work early, coming home late. Every time I tried to talk to her, she'd say she was processing some things and needed space. I was getting seriously concerned. What the hell had Molly told her? That Sunday, about a week after the barbecue incident, we were supposed to go to dinner at her parents' house. Our usual family dinner thing. The tension between us had been building all week. Erin suggested we drive separately because she might need to stay late to help her mom with something. It seemed like a weird excuse, but I agreed. When I pulled up to their house, I noticed all 3 of their cars were already in the driveway. Erin, Molly, and their parents were waiting for me, all sitting in the living room with grim faces. Erin's dad, who normally greeted me with a handshake and a pat on the back, wouldn't even look at me. Her mom was sitting there with tissues, already crying about something. I stood in the doorway, completely confused. "What's going on?" I asked. Erin finally spoke up. "Molly told us what you did to her." I genuinely had no clue what she was talking about. "What are you talking about? What did I supposedly do?" I straight thought about the day I kicked her from my house. Now I thought she was just making drama about it. But what she told them was way worse. Molly started crying. These big sobs that seemed rehearsed. 2 weeks ago, when you came over to drop off those documents for Erin while she was at her conference. You know what you did? I remembered the day she was talking about. Erin had forgotten some contract papers she needed signed, so I dropped them off at her in Molly's shared apartment on my way to work. Molly had been half asleep in PJs, took the envelope, and closed the door. The whole interaction lasted maybe 30 seconds. No more. "I literally handed you an envelope and left," I said, completely baffled. "That's not all you did. You pushed your way in. You said you needed to use the bathroom. And then you..." She broke down into more sobs. Erin jumped in. She says you essayed her. In her own apartment. The accusation hit me like a truck. I literally felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Wait, WTF? That's absolutely insane. I never even stepped foot inside. The doorbell camera would show that. Molly immediately shot back. "Our building doesn't have doorbell cameras." Suddenly very precise, through her tears. Convenient, right? Robert finally looked at me red-faced. "I trusted you with my daughter. I welcomed you into our family. I couldn't believe what was happening. These people who had treated me like family for years were looking at me like I was a monster. Based on what? An obvious lie from a woman who literally threatened me a week ago. They didn't even care there was no proof. This is crazy," I said, trying to stay calm. "Erin, come on. You can't possibly believe this. Molly's lying. She threatened me." Erin looked torn, but Molly jumped in again. "See, he's trying to make me look crazy so you won't believe me. Classic abuser tactics." Robert stood up, pointing at the door. "I think you should leave now. Before I do something I'll regret." I looked at Erin, desperate for any sign that she knew this was wrong. "Erin, please. We've been together for 5 years. You know me. You know I would never do something like this." Erin wouldn't meet my eyes. She told me she needs time to think, then told me that I should stay somewhere else for a while. I left, completely shocked. That night, I called my buddy Mike, giving him the bare minimum of what happened. That Erin and I had a huge fight, and I needed a place to crash. He said I could use his couch for a few days. I didn't sleep at all that night, just kept replaying everything in my head, trying to make sense of what had happened. How could Erin believe I would do something so horrible? And how could her parents buy into this too? The next morning, I drove to our house to get some clothes, only to find all my stuff thrown onto the front lawn. Erin stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "The locks have been changed," she said. "My lawyer will contact yours about the divorce." My brain couldn't process what I was hearing. Divorce? No, seriously, Erin. We need to talk about this. Molly is lying, but shook her head. My sister wouldn't lie about something like this. I was desperate. She literally threatened me last week. This is her revenge for me kicking her out? Erin wasn't convinced. "She told me you'd say that. She told me you'd try to make her look unstable to cover your tracks." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So you're just going to throw away our marriage based on an accusation with zero proof? After everything we've built together? I need to support my sister. I'm so disappointed of you," she said, and closed the door in my face. I stood there for a minute, completely numb. Then I started gathering my stuff from the lawn. Some neighbors were watching from their windows. Great. So the whole neighborhood got to see my humiliation. I loaded as much as I could into my car and went back to Mike's place. Thank God for Mike, man. He just helped me bring my stuff without asking questions. The nightmare was just beginning. The next afternoon, cops showed up at Mike's place. Two detectives asking if they could talk to me. They questioned me for hours about my relationship with Molly and my whereabouts on the day in question. I kept telling them I was only at her apartment for seconds, just long enough to hand her an envelope. But they kept circling back with more questions. It was obvious they'd already decided I was guilty. They didn't arrest me, but said the investigation was ongoing. As soon as they left, Mike was like, "Dude, what the fuck?" I had to fill him in and explain everything. Mike believed me, but he was one of the few who would. I called a lawyer as soon as the cops left. He charged me $500 for a consultation and basically said I was screwed without evidence proving I didn't do it. It's her word against yours. And in the current climate, her word carries more weight. The next day, my boss called me into his office as soon as I got to work. HR was already there waiting. Apparently, Aaron's dad, who golfed with the CEO, had already warned them about the situation. I was placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. My boss, who used to invite me to his lake house on holidays, couldn't even look at me as he asked for my badge. When I got back to Mike's place, I had an email from our landlord. Aaron had contacted him about removing me from the lease. I also had voicemails from 3 different friends, all essentially saying the same thing. I heard what happened. I don't think we should hang out for a while. I tried one more time to call Aaron, but my number was blocked. I emailed her, but got no response. Within a week, I got official divorce papers. Aaron was filing on grounds of cruel and inhumane treatment and wanted the house, half my savings, and monthly alimony. Great. Never been better. The papers included a restraining order preventing me from contacting her or coming within 500 feet of our home. After a month of sleeping on Mike's couch, I found a crappy apartment in a sketchy part of town because no one would rent to me after a background check showed I was under investigation for sexual assault. I had to use most of my savings to pay the lawyer's retainer. You know what's funny in a totally fucked up way? I told Mike one night, if I had actually done what Molly accused me of, I'd probably have gotten better treatment. At least I'd have gotten a trial. In the court of public opinion, accusation equals guilt. Mike nodded. It's messed up, man. You're guilty until proven innocent. And even then, the stain never really goes away. He was right. Even if I was eventually cleared, the damage was done. So the police investigation dragged on for weeks. Molly had apparently told them I had boundary issues and had made inappropriate comments to her for months before the alleged assault. All complete lies, but impossible to disprove. The worst part was knowing that everyone believed her. Our mutual friends who'd been at our wedding posted vague supportive messages about believing victims and standing with survivors. A couple of Aaron's cousins sent me threatening messages. One night, someone spray-painted Predator on my car. At least they spelled it right. I joked to Mike, as we tried to clean it off. Would have been even more insulting if they thought I couldn't read. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, after 2 months, the company fired me, citing a morality clause in my contract. Basically said even though I hadn't been convicted of anything, the accusation alone was enough to damage the company's reputation. The severance check barely covered 1 month's rent. I started delivering food just to make ends meet. Started eating gas station burritos. Sleeping in a car for a night. I'd lost weight. Couldn't sleep. My lawyer was useless. Every time I called for an update, he'd bill me $200 just to tell me there was no update. He kept encouraging me to take a plea deal if one was offered, just to make this go away, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. I fired him and found a new one, but she wasn't cheap. My savings were dwindling fast, and I had no income besides food delivery. I tried applying for other finance jobs, but no one would touch me once they did a background check. I started selling my stuff just to cover bills. Had to get a beater just to keep doing deliveries. The divorce went through faster than I thought possible. Aaron got the house and a chunk of my remaining savings. Molly apparently testified about my pattern of inappropriate behavior, bringing up completely fabricated incidents from family gatherings. The judge barely glanced at my side of the story. My lawyer told me I was lucky the criminal investigation hadn't led to charges yet. Yeah, lucky wasn't exactly how I felt. By the end of the year, I had lost everything. My wife, my home, my career, my friends, my reputation, my savings. I had to move back in with my parents at 36 years old. Rock Bottom had a basement, and I was living in it. My parents believed me, at least. They were maybe the only ones besides Mike who did. My dad offered to help with legal bills, but they were retired and living on a fixed income. I couldn't drag them down with me. The criminal investigation was eventually closed due to insufficient evidence. The detective called to tell me they weren't pressing charges, but his tone made it clear he still thought I was guilty, just that they couldn't prove it. No apology. No acknowledgement that my life had been ruined over nothing. Just, we're not moving forward at this time. Like they were doing me some huge favor by not charging me with a crime I didn't commit. I tried to start rebuilding. Found a job at a small investment firm in my parents' town. Making way less than before, but at least it was in my field. The owner was an old friend of my dad's who was willing to give me a chance when no one else would. I worked my ass off. During all that, the anger was the hardest part to deal with. I'd lay awake at night thinking about how Molly was out there living her life, posting Instagram photos and going on vacations while I was sleeping in my childhood bedroom at 36. How Aaron, who I'd loved for 5 years, had thrown everything away so easily. How the whole justice system is just so fucked up. I stayed in my parents' town for about a year, saving every penny I could. My goal was to move somewhere no one knew me, where I could start completely fresh. I chose Denver, far from my old life, good job market, and I'd always liked the mountains. Found a small apartment and a decent job at another investment firm. It wasn't the director track position I'd had before, but it was a start. I kept to myself mostly. Made a few casual friends at work and the gym. As the second anniversary of the divorce approached, I was in a better place financially. I hadn't spoken to Erin or anyone from her family since the divorce was finalized. Hadn't tried to contact her. I'd started to accept that I would never get justice or closure, and I'd just have to find a way to move on despite it. I focused on my new job. Life wasn't good exactly, but it was functional. Then came the text from Mark, Erin's cousin on her mom's side. We'd met at the wedding and a few family gatherings, but weren't close. Hey, need to talk to you. Found something you should see. Can we meet? I almost ignored it, but I was curious, so I agreed to meet him at a bar halfway between our towns. When I got there, Mark was already at a corner table. We'd never been close. He was a quiet guy who worked in IT and usually kept to himself at family gatherings. I sat down across from him. What's this about? I asked. No small talk, no pretending we were friends. We weren't. It's about Molly. Look, my girlfriend is friends with her, he explained. They went to college together. Last week, I borrowed her phone to call an Uber when mine died. And a text from Molly came in, and, well, I shouldn't have read their conversation. But something caught my eye. He pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots he'd taken of the text exchange between his girlfriend and Molly. I felt my stomach drop as I scrolled through. Molly, Erin's ex, keeps coming up in family convos. Mom and Dad are still talking about how disappointed they are in him all. That whole situation was so messed up. How's Erin doing with it now? Oh, she's fine, said Molly. Dating some doctor now. Way better than James anyway. She finished. True. Still can't believe what he did to you, though. Yeah, about that. Promise you won't say anything? Like, ever? What's up? Molly. He didn't actually do anything. LOL. I made the whole thing up because he pissed me off. Kicked me out of his house and acted all high and mighty. So I destroyed his life. LMAO. Best revenge ever. Mark's GF. Wait, what? Molly, that's seriously fucked up. You can't joke about that. Molly replied, not joking. But no one will ever believe him now anyway. Erin already divorced him and he lost his job. Mission accomplished. I stared at the screen, feeling like I might throw up or punch something. After 2 years of hell, here it was. Molly spitting the proof that she had ruined my life over absolutely nothing. I asked Mark why he was even showing me this. He looked uncomfortable and told me he's been watching this whole thing play out for 2 years. And he always had doubts. Molly's always been manipulative. But this confirms it. He told me that no one in the family knows. Even his girlfriend doesn't know he saw the texts. I asked him to send me the screenshots, which he did on the spot. Then I thanked him, walked out to my car, and just sat there, staring at the proof on my phone. Kept reading the texts over and over. The proof I'd been desperate for 2 years ago finally in my hands. Part of me wanted to immediately send the screenshots to Erin, to her parents, to my old boss, to everyone who'd abandoned me. Wanted to watch Molly's face as she realized her lie had been exposed. But I needed to be smart about this. After everything I'd been through, I couldn't afford to mess this up. The next morning, I called a lawyer. When I showed her the screenshots, she actually smiled. This is as clear-cut as it gets, she said. We can go after Molly. The text messages are admissible since they were obtained legally. Beautiful. I hired her on the spot. For the first time in 2 years, justice might actually be possible. We began building the case methodically. My lawyer subpoenaed records from Molly's apartment building, confirming no cameras existed that could have disproved my story. She collected evidence of my financial losses, salary documents from my former job, the divorce settlement, my new lower salary, everything that showed how much this false accusation had cost me. When everything was ready, we filed lawsuits against Molly for defamation, malicious prosecution, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We named Erin as a co-defendant for her role in furthering the defamation. We also filed a separate suit against my former employer for wrongful termination. The papers were served to Molly at her workplace. According to the process server, she turned ghost white when she realized what was happening. Erin was served at the hospital where her new boyfriend worked, causing a scene that apparently got back to him quickly. Within hours, my phone exploded with messages. Erin's parents threatening legal action against me. Former friends calling me vindictive and saying I needed to move on. Molly's lawyer contacted mine immediately, suggesting mediation instead of going to court. My lawyer's response was simple. We look forward to showing the text messages to a jury. That's when the tone changed. Molly requested a private meeting with me and my lawyer. I agreed, curious to see her face when she realized her game was up. In the conference room, Molly looked nothing like the confident woman who had destroyed my life. Her lawyer kept trying to control the conversation, talking about misunderstandings and family conflicts getting out of hand. My lawyer pulled out the text messages. Molly's face crumpled as she read her own words on the printout. Her lawyer's expression changed. I was drunk, Molly stammered. I was exaggerating to sound impressive to my friend. That's not how a jury will see it, my lawyer replied. They'll see a woman admitting to deliberately falsifying an essay claim to ruin a man's life out of petty jealousy. I estimate damages in the range of $300,000, possibly more with punitive damages. Molly broke down crying. I can't pay that kind of money. I'll be ruined. We left them to discuss their options. The next day, Molly's lawyer called with a settlement offer, $100,000 and a signed confession admitting she had fabricated the entire accusation. Not enough, was my response. The next offer came in at $150,000. I countered with my terms, $300,000, the signed confession, and a video statement she would record admitting to the false accusation that I could share with anyone who had been told about the original claims, including my former colleagues and friends. She eventually agreed, likely realizing a court case would be even more devastating. Erin was next. After hearing about Molly's confession, she tried calling me repeatedly. I didn't answer. Instead, I had my lawyer forward the text messages and Molly's written confession to her lawyer. 2 days later, Erin showed up at my apartment, having gotten the address from God knows where. I refused to let her in and called my lawyer instead, who agreed to meet us at her office. When we got there, Erin was already crying and apologizing. Didn't move a thing in me. Save it, I interrupted. You had a chance to believe me 2 years ago. You chose not to. In the end, Erin agreed to a settlement as well, $150,000 plus a formal letter of apology. She also agreed to make a statement to my former employer about the falsity of the accusations. The money would come from selling the house, our house, that she'd gotten in the divorce. Poetic justice, I guess. My company settled the wrongful termination suit for another $300,000 and offered to reinstate me, an offer I declined. I didn't want to return to a place where people had been so quick to assume the worst about me. All told, the settlements from Molly, Erin, and my former employer totaled nearly $1 million. The money couldn't give me back the 2 years of my life that had been stolen, but it was vindication. Perhaps the most satisfying moment came when Molly's confession video was shared with the extended family and our former social circle. The same people who had shunned me and supported her now saw the truth. The fallout was swift. Molly lost her job when the story got back to her workplace. Erin continued trying to contact me, sending emails about how sorry she was and how she would do anything to make it right. I never responded. Some betrayals are too deep to come back from, and hers was one of them. With the settlements finalized and the truth public, I had decisions to make about my future. I didn't want to stay in Denver. I decided on Seattle, always liked the Pacific Northwest. Good job market for finance. I bought a sweet condo with views of Puget Sound, invested the remaining settlement money, and started interviewing with firms that had no connection to my past. The lawsuit and confessions had cleared my professional reputation. Former colleagues started reaching out again, offering connections and references. Amazing how people change their tune when they realize they backed the wrong horse. Amazing how people change their tune when they realize they backed the wrong horse. I accepted a position as a senior financial advisor at a prestigious firm, with a salary even higher than my previous job. For the first time in years, I felt like my career was back on track. Sometimes I still think about those lost years. But most days, I focus on what I've built from the ashes. My new career, my hard-won wisdom about human nature. It's been about a year since the settlements first off. Thanks for all the comments and support on my previous posts. It helped more than you know when I was going through the worst of it. Life in Seattle has been pretty good. My job at the new firm is going great. Just got promoted to department head last month, which came with a nice office and an even nicer salary bump. The partners actually respect my input, and several of them have become friends outside of work. It's weird having coworkers who don't look at me like I'm some kind of monster. Still not totally used to it. TBH, the settlement money has mostly been invested. I've got a solid portfolio going that should set me up nicely for retirement. Also splurged a bit and bought myself a new car. Nothing too flashy, but definitely an upgrade from the beater I was driving during my food delivery days. Still can't believe there was a time when I was scraping by on tips just to make rent. Crazy how fast your life can change, both for the worse and for the better. I still get the occasional update about Erin and Molly. Not because I seek it out, but because Mark still texts me sometimes. Erin finally sold the house a few months ago. Molly is still struggling from what I hear. She had to move back in with her parents after she couldn't find another job. Who could have seen that coming? My buddy Mike visited last month, took him salmon fishing and showed him around the city. That guy's the real deal. Stuck by me when literally everyone else was calling me a predator. We don't talk about it much, but we both know our friendship is solid in a way most people never experience. If there's any advice I can give to someone going through something similar, it's this. Document everything. Get the best lawyer you can possibly afford. Cut toxic people out of your life completely and be patient. The truth has a way of coming out eventually. It might take months or years, but lies are hard to maintain forever. Molly got sloppy and admitted the truth to a friend via text. That one mistake brought her whole house of cards tumbling down. So that's it. Thanks for reading my story, Reddit. Wishing you all the best, and hoping none of you ever have to go through anything like this. Edit 1. Lots of people asking if I still have contact with Erin. The answer is no. After I told her not to contact me again, she finally stopped trying. Last I heard, she moved to another city for a fresh start. Edit 2. For those asking about legal repercussions for Molly beyond the civil suit, the prosecutor wasn't interested in pursuing criminal charges for filing a false police report, said it would be too difficult to prove intent, despite the confession text. The system protects itself, makes you wonder how many other false accusations are out there that never get exposed. Edit 3. Thanks for all the awards and supportive comments. This community helped me through some dark time.